It's day 25 of our advent calendar, which means it is Christmas! Merry Christmas to all those who celebrate. I hope you're having the best day. You might not even be watching this on Christmas because you're probably busy celebrating with your family and friends, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Okay? But for those who are here with me in real time, let's see what is behind door 25. I told my family they won't be in my life or my son's life. This story came November 20th, 2025. Not very happy vibes for Christmas, but that is okay. In 2020, I, 30, did something horrible to my family by stealing from them to fund my addiction. I stole some electronics, including old cell phones, a game console, and a Blu-ray player to buy substance that I cannot say. I cannot and will not justify these actions and fully accept them as my own and their consequences. I was caught and my family became aware of my addiction. It was hard to see my parents realize what was happening, but the hardest was seeing how heartbroken my 17-year-old sister was. They dropped me off at a rehab center where I spent 3 months getting detoxed and sober. I did not hear from them while I was in there. I tried calling to let them know how I was, but I never received an answer. The day I got out, I went back home. My family there informed me that they would no longer be considering me a member of the family and that I was to leave the home and to not contact them for any reason. I attempted to stay with another family, but when I contacted my grandparents, I was told that my parents had called them and several others to tell them that if they kept in contact with me in any capacity, they would cut off contact with them as well. I was able to see how my sister was doing via my mother's Facebook posts, but after liking one, I was messaged and told that I was not allowed to be looking at the posts, but all other family members will be blocking me and I am not to interact with my mother's posts. I was completely destroyed and left on the streets. I stayed in a homeless shelter and got a menial job, enough to get a rundown apartment and slowly put my life together. I went through therapy to process the extreme grief that I felt. I focused on work and did school online, enough to finish my degree from when I dropped out at 21 years old. I was able to secure myself a very good position several states away, and I moved there as soon as I could. 3 years ago, I met the woman who is now my wife. Her father went through a similar struggle with addiction, and her family welcomed me with open arms. Last year, we got married, and 3 months ago, we welcomed our son into the world. Of course, being a proud new dad, I posted my boy all over social media to show him off to the world. Since then, I have been swarmed with calls and messages telling me that my parents want to meet my son. I have no plans to allow that. My family abandoned me at my lowest and actively worked to cut me off from any family support that I could have ever had. I am not owed forgiveness for my actions, but I can't pretend that what they did was anything less than complete disownment of me at my most vulnerable. I told them, not very politely, that I do not consider them my real family and that they are to come nowhere near me, my wife, our son, or anyone related to us. I have been getting messages daily about how I, quote, never earned their love back and I am cheating them out of having a son again. And thus, I owe it to them for my parents and others. I am not giving in at all, nor do I ever plan to. Am I the a-hole? Edit. There's been a lot of replies along with a broad spectrum of opinions and takes. For now, I'm stepping back. My wife and I decided that we are going to be speaking with my parents via a video call and discussing the past 5 years and where everyone stands as of today to gauge where we all are and decide how to move forward. I will be taking everything I've read here into consideration in how I decide to approach the situation. I've seen a lot of people wanting updates, so I will post an update on this when the dust has settled and I can say with some certainty what is going to be happening. All right, so in the comment section, it says, OP explains more about his addiction and how it affected the people in his life at the time. He said, my time spent on substance was mercifully short, less than a year. Until then, I had mainly gotten my fix from someone I was dating at the time. They lived with me, and so they shared what they got me in return. After we broke up, I got desperate and I sold almost everything I owned, and after losing my job at the time, I got desperate enough to steal. Until then, my family was not aware of my addiction because I tended to have a little bit of distance between my father, who was very much the man in charge, who kept whatever was happening in the house under strict control. I was most frequently in contact with my little sister via Discord and texting. That isn't to say that I did not love my family or feel affection for them, but that we did not see each other in person often enough for them to really grasp that I had a problem. There were other things that made our relationship hard before my addiction though. My father specifically had always had a difficult relationship with me because I dropped out of school and I came out as openly bisexual, which he had a severe issue with. He is a very strict traditionalist and did not approve of the fact that I had been dating men as well as women. He also did not like that my pursuit for a career was in writing, when his goal for me was to get an electrical engineering degree so that I could take his business after graduation. Again, I am not inherently deserving of forgiveness from them, especially directly after rehab, but to actively throw me on the street and disown me, then go out of their way to ensure that no one would ever speak to me, that hurt, and it still hurts. I needed someone, anyone, to be there because I wanted to get better and to be better. I worked hard and I did get better, but knowing that they didn't want to see me even when I was at my best made it worse. And now they only want to be around because I have something they want. They still don't care about me as their family or about my recovery or my success. Now, we have some other top comments, which will give us hopefully some more clarity because people are asking some questions. First comment. So 5 years ago, you were a raging addict who traumatized your family. They were done with your abuse and left you to clean up your own mess. And now that you got your life together, they are the a-holes? No, honey, this is real life. You exhausted the emotional and financial resources of your family. It is your job to repair the relationships that you destroyed, and they taught you that in rehab. People are brutal on Reddit. Oh my God. Honestly, I'll never ask anyone for advice again. I'm just like post anonymously on Reddit. If I ever want some out of picture perspective, like lay it on me. Give me the hard truth. My God. OP wrote back and said, yes, they did teach me this in rehab, but I feel you're misunderstanding what I'm asking here. I'm not asking if they're a-holes after what I did to them. I am not saying that they owe me something I did not receive. They were fully in their rights to cut me off, even if it hurt me almost irreparably. That is on me. What I am saying is that they do not get to erase me from the family, actively working to ensure that no one I am related to will even speak to me for 5 years and then decide that they get to jump back into my life because they want access to my son. Next question and comment. Have your parents or any other members of your old family even apologized for totally shunning you? You are not the a-hole. OP wrote back and said, no, I have not heard from any of my relatives in the 5 years between then and now. They have blocked me on everything. My mother allows me to view her social media posts because I want to see how my sister is doing. That is all. Oh my God, like you don't even talk to your sister? I guess she was 17 at the time, so over the last 5 years is really when she would like start to gain an understanding of that situation and how severe it was. Next comment. If the parents really want to meet your child, they will apologize. What about your sister? Any contact with her? That's what I wanted to know. No, my sister has not been allowed to have any social media since she was young, and so she does not use it as an adult. I see events like her college graduation and birthday updates on my mother's Facebook, and that's all. She has not reached out to me. Oh, and who knows, your parents are probably telling her the facts about what happened during your terrible decisions and your addiction. And so that's probably all she knows. Imagine what a conversation with you would be, where you would take accountability, because you did take accountability for everything, and just to see that you are sober now and you recovered and you're trying to, right your wrongs. Ugh. This is all so sad. If you've ever dealt with someone in your family with addiction, it's brutal. It's brutal. Anyways, next. Okay, so this is what OP had to say on if he is still not considered a part of the family and if they want access to his son and the grandson. OP said we had one conversation, and in it, I told them that they wanted me to stay away, and I did exactly what they asked. They made no indication up until then that they wanted me back in their lives. I do still hurt from that, and I'm still working on making peace with that. They have not made any indication that their feelings towards me have changed. So basically they just want to meet their grandson. Next comment, honestly, if they were intending to cut you out forever, they should have anticipated what would happen if you were to ever have kids. You said you never tried to earn their forgiveness back. Did they expect you to grovel and try harder to get back into their graces, or are they making excuses? OP replied and said, if I know my father well enough, he probably expected me to push back against his rejection to prove how much I wanted them. I didn't do that. I was heartbroken and alone and too concerned with survival, and eventually I just went on without them. This is what he had to say on the possible reason why his parents want to meet their grandson all of a sudden. He said, I feel like they see my son as a do-over. The first one ended up wrong, so this is a chance of number 2 to get it right. Man, the comments are giving way more details than the actual post did, so I'm glad we're including all of them. Now, this is additional information from OP after reading all the comments and responses from everyone, because clearly it was a lot. I want to add some context here that I initially left out for the sake of brevity. My parents and I, especially my father, did have some strains in our relationship before all of this, but it was unrelated to my addiction. My father is an extremely strict traditionalist who had a very clear life path for his only son that included me getting the electrical engineering degree and taking over his business. I had zero interest in that. I've always loved writing and I wanted to pursue that. So when I had a chance in college, I switched to an English major to pursue professional writing along the lines of technical writing and copywriting. This made him extremely upset. It did not help that I am openly bisexual and I was dating both men and women when in college. When I came out, I expected some resistance, and I did receive that, but his disappointment was mostly unspoken, even if still palpable. I dropped out of school and began working full-time before I finished my degree. The workload, on top of my already poor mental health, put more strain on me than I could handle at the time. Of course, this made him very upset as well, but he was holding out hope that I would turn out how he intended at some point. I dated a man who was using, and I used him to cope with the issues that I was having. He let me use what he could get his hands on, and in return, I worked and paid the bills for the apartment. I lost my job and I was close to eviction when we broke up. Then, that is when I began selling all of my belongings and then, in a desperate bid, stole from my family. I was caught after that single time stealing, and that is when my addiction came to light. Again, no excuses for my stealing. I made that choice and accepted that they felt the need to cut me off, even if it took years to reach that point. Now we have another update, but I'm gonna take a sip of water before we get into it, and you should too, because it's hydration station, and I'm sure we are all eating a bunch of food, a bunch of chocolate, a bunch of goodies. Ooh, I know I am today. I got chocolate covered peanut butter balls waiting for me today, and you better know I'll be mucking them. So, cheers. Hydrate. It'll help your digestion, I promise.
Do you want to say Merry Christmas? You want to say Merry Christmas from you and your ducky friend to all your other friends online? Say Merry Christmas. Oh. Okay, bye. I think she just wanted to show you her coffee toys. Oh, is that it? Oh, that's a plant. Say Merry Christmas. Say Merry Christmas.
Okay, goodbye. We tried. All right, so the next update was 15 days later. We're at December 5th, 2025. The only thing I will add clarity to, since it came up several times, my family did not pay for my stay in rehab. I was making less than $20K per year, and my employer only offered an HSA for health benefits, so I qualified for Medicaid and had been on that since I moved out of the house. Medicaid in my state pays for the cost of inpatient rehab, and this is how my treatment was funded. For the sake of privacy, and so that I don't dwell on it longer than I should, I will briefly run through some relevant context and a short summary of what my father expressed to me me during our conversation. To add some context that I think explains his mindset, I will give some of my father's history here. He came from China to the US to attend college, and he fell in love with the country. My father hates China and communism. He saw America as a land where he could have the opportunity to thrive in ways that he couldn't in his home country. So he married an American woman and stayed here, starting his own business. My father's dream was that one day he would pass this business down to his son, then to his grandson, continually being passed down as his legacy. He was very much a tiger parent, and my mother, having always been very submissive, followed suit. I had been told from a young age that this is what my future would be like, and my life was curated around it, down to what university I would attend and what my major was. All of this will give context to my father's position. The call was just me, my wife, and my father. It was a long and awkward conversation, but here's the gist of it. My father regards my bisexuality and my decision to not finish college as direct actions of ungratefulness to his efforts in raising me, and feels that I have not been thankful that he did not take action against me earlier. Me being bisexual still left room to marry a woman and have children, so he did not interfere with it. He could still teach me how to manage my business, even if I needed to hire others to help with the physical labor involved with it, so he got past the fact that I dropped out of college. However, it was not the stealing that broke the camel's back to him. It was the fact that I had used substances at all. He was upset that I had stolen from the house, but to him, it was ultimately inconsequential compared to me abusing a substance. The fact that I used substances at all meant that I could not be trusted with his legacy, and since I could not contribute to the family legacy, it was necessary for him to cut me out of the family entirely to avoid the shame of having an addict among them. He made it clear that this is how he felt then, and that his feelings have not changed, nor will they ever change, no matter how clean I stay or how successful I become, because I ruined his dream. Despite this, I owe him a debt of gratitude by leaving the family vacant of a son to pass his legacy down to. Now that I have a son of my own, there's potential for my father's legacy that it could be passed down to him. As someone who used substances, the necessities him and my mother stepping in to ensure my son is properly raised into the position that I was to inherit. I did not get to speak to my mother to ask her about the messages that she had sent me. The call ended pretty abruptly when my wife realized that it wasn't a conversation that would go anywhere. I was in a bad spot for the weekend after that Friday night. I cannot express with words how thankful I am that my wife was there to help me stay sane. I am going to spend the rest of my life doing everything I possibly can to be as much of a rock for her as she is for me. Right now, most of that is in the form of taking on any and all of the housework, in addition to doing my part to take care of the baby while her body recovers. As our son grows up, I will keep finding new ways to let her know how much I appreciate her. As for the future, this is what we have decided. On my part, I'm going to work a lot less. For those wondering, I ended up being a technical writer, and it's a job that I'm quite good at. It also pays for us to live very comfortably, even if I go well below a full-time work schedule. When I met my wife, I used work as my distraction. However, I don't think this is a healthy way to cope now that I have a child. I've decided I'll use the extra time off of work to attend any extra therapy session every week for more intensive treatment and to help develop some better coping mechanisms that don't involve me working myself into an early grave. As for our son, we have decided that my parents will not be part of his life for the foreseeable future. We aren't sure what we will tell him, but as he grows up, we will see more of his personality. We plan to speak with a counselor who has experience in child psychology to find a way to approach the subject that won't be distressing or confusing for him. A lot of people mentioned the idea of me taking my wife's name. We floated that for a bit, but ultimately we decided that we will be choosing a new family name entirely. It feels like more of a fresh start for a new legacy. We aren't sure which name we will go with yet, but we hope to have that done by the end of the year. And honestly, that's pretty much it. I'm going to log out of this account after posting this, and I will not be logging back in. Let's see what some of the top comments were saying on where this story ended. Someone commented and said, "Your father sees you as an investment for his dreams and not as a person. When you did not have the dividend he expected, he got rid of the asset." Ooh, dropping bars with that. Now that there's a new asset, he wants to use his history as a shareholder to get the buying options to start over, but only under the stipulation to be the CEO to make sure that this time there will be a nice payout for him. You see the way it goes? You are right to stop your investor, I mean father and his whole family, from even knowing your child. He deserves better and you do too. It is great that you have a wife that sees that with you and supports you so much. Your father will never see his role in all that happens. Be happy with the people that love you unconditionally and the people you love the same way. That is the best life. Words to live by. That's some holly jolly words on Christmas. Next comment. Your dad's a real clown shoe. In what universe did he think practically demanding your kid to raise just to make up for your substance use, upsetting his plan, would work in his favor? Blocking your family is a great idea, but you might want to prepare in case your parents won't take no contact for an answer and try some grandparents' rights plan or something equal nonsense to get access. Oh yeah, that is a thing some places. Next and last comment, let me put it this way. Your father raised a son who took substances, stole from the family, had to go to rehab, and only became successful once the said son was completely apart from that father. So he has some audacity to imply that he has to make sure your son gets raised properly when he is objectively the failure as a parent. Dropping bars in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts, everyone. I hope you have the happiest of holidays, and 2026 is coming. I hope it's a great year for everyone, but we'll talk about that closer too. Stay classy out there, stay sassy. I'll see you tomorrow.